Oh, this is Muffins, the GM for Carrion Crown, and this is my co-GM, Darbee. I know it's been a while. It's been a while. But we just finished up book 2 of Carrion Crown, The Trial of the Beast, and we want to get together and talk about it a little bit. It was a pretty awesome book. I don't know how much of it you witnessed, Darbee, during it, but I thought it was pretty swell. I think it's a really great setup, a great like little quest, being centered around this trial kind of deal. So yeah, let's talk about it. When you did your first read through of book 2, what were your like initial impressions on it before we kind of got our hands on it?
Um, the transition from book 1 to book 2, I think worked pretty well. It was like a travel phase, some encounters to get you to the city,
Mhm.
and then very quickly like dove into the action of this trial and the accused, the beast, before wrapping it up with a location dungeon. Overall, I liked it pretty well. It was probably like a 7 or 8 out of 10. And then we had to like shake up some stuff since we were transitioning players and weren't going to do like a heavy travel sequence.
Yeah, I think like the biggest change we made, well, one of the biggest changes we made was the main sequence regarding the circus. It's how you're supposed to, like you said, meet them during a travel sequence from your way from Ravengrow to Lepidstadt. Because we did wanted to like, skip all that, because we were transitioning players, we ended up moving the circus and getting them more involved with the trial, which I think went really well. I was kind of nervous about it at first when we first got into that section with the trial, but I am really happy with the way it turned out. And I think the players had a lot of fun. It wasn't any kind of like intense mystery or anything, but the players had fun doing it, which I thought was a really good thing. So they are in the city already in Lepidstadt. They are already there, and they are part of the trial in the sense of there is murders going on at the circus, which is reminiscent of the original encounter, but we that gets kind of just moved around and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think it's pretty good book. A lot of it's pretty railroady, I would say, but it's also railroady in a way I think the players enjoy following the mystery in regards to the beast. You get to meet the beast, which is the center point NPC for this adventure. So what did you think of the beast?
He's like a young, naive kid, I
Mhm.
guess, is kind of how I pictured him.
Yeah, I think I portrayed him that way kind of. I think he had a lot more uh, consciousness than a kid would. But I think that endeared him to the party enough. They ended up naming him Daffodil, so didn't call him the Beast throughout the adventure. They called him Daffodil, which I thought was kind of cute.
Oh, were they worried that he was going to blow away?
No, there's a poem. Oh my gosh, I should grab this poem real quick.
Was it a poem the players made, I'm assuming?
No. It was a poem I stole.
Ah, we
um,
used.
yes. It was the poem "I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud" by William Wordsworth. I don't remember what brought me to this poem, but I really liked it. And I started with just the first stanza of the poem. They'd find the rest of it throughout the course of the adventure. Do you like poems?
Oh, I love poems. Yeah. So, do you think you can read me your poem that you like, your favorite one?
About the daffodils?
Yeah.
I don't have all of it memorized. I kept it in a poem book, but I know a little bit.
I would love to hear it.
He nods and he kind of gets a little closer to the bars to you, and Gustav takes a step back as he gets closer. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd. a host of golden daffodils beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. There is more I just do not remember. So I picked this poem because I just thought it was cute. But the players, they took this as a metaphor for the entire campaign. They thought of the host of golden daffodils being some kind of reference to the people who didn't like daffodil, and he wanted to be a daffodil or something. They were trying to like dissect this poem like it
Of course
was
they were.
high school English. Yeah. And a good on them. That's fine. But I definitely just kind of picked a poem I liked. And they found the rest, later on down the line when they found his poem book. There were some other NPCs that we had to work with this book. The main one also being Allison Hale, which is also a homebrew, isn't it? She wasn't in the. She's not in the book.
This is like the Whispering Way, like lieutenant that we kind of added.
Yeah.
Because we worked some of the end encounters near the end to tie in the Whispering Way a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that's a problem for most of these books. So I think a lot of the time you are spent chasing after the Whispering Way. You never actually really encountered them, which I think is kind of a bummer. It always feels like you're just on their tail constantly. And
Yeah.
you can never just quite catch them, which I think can be fun, but you gotta throw them a bone every so often to have at least a little encounter with the Way.
Yeah. Get them some wins to balance out on their side.
Yeah, because they're just consistently losing all the fun little ingredients for the Carrion Crown. So gotta give them some wins and kill a lieutenant or two. But that was our antagonist. That was one of our main antagonists for this book was Allison Hale. She was the opposite prosecutor in the trial. She was the one hired by this, or not hired by the city, or something. Maybe she was hired by the city to basically put the beast behind the bars. When she was pretty damn good at her job. However, she kind of falls apart a little bit at the end. If you watch our videos of this around the second part of the trial, I got the vibe. I read the room that the party wasn't as engaged in the trial as they were the first time, and I felt like they were they kind of lost its magic after the first one. They weren't as engaged, and they just weren't as interested or wanted to RP out another trial.
Going through the motions.
Yeah, they were going through the motions. So I knew if we did a third one, it was like they just weren't gonna have a good time. Especially because like they had all the evidence. If you have all the evidence, and I can refute as much as I want, but they bought a bunch of dead bodies back with them. What is Alice gonna do? It's just So at the end of the second trial, Allison kind of panics a little bit. She realizes she's losing really, really badly. And she was originally, hired to convict the beast to wrap up loose ends. That's a big thing for the Whispering Way, wrapping up loose ends. So she goes out like a diva. She teleports away after revealing herself to be a member of the Whispering Way, and starting off this mob attack in the courthouse. And then she dies, pretty brutally at the Schloss. But she was fun. I know a lot of other games have Endymion be the prosecutor on the other side, and I was very, very close to having this be Endymion as well for the prosecutor, but I got talked out of it with logic, so he wasn't. If you're gonna have Endymion be with the party for most of book 1 and for a chunk of book 2, I don't think I'd recommend having him be the prosecutor. I think having him be around too much is a bad thing, since you don't necessarily want him to be there 24/7, So him just being in the city, but he wasn't necessarily involved with the case, he was just around. And it gave you a good excuse to murder Allison at the end of the book, the prosecutor, so gave you a baddie.
Yeah, I agree with that. Using him too much is tipping your hat too much, I think.
So something happened this book. Unfortunately, two things happened this book. We had some player death at the Chemic Works, which was a big bummer. Sigrid walked into a room full of evil zombies and got torn apart pretty brutally. I had a conversation with the player afterwards, and it didn't seem like a very fun death. Because I know death is never really fun, but there is a way to not do it correctly. Especially when the player was given no time to react to 5 monk zombies doing a flurries of blows in her direction, which didn't feel good, and I totally respected that. So I told the player, I said, hey, there is 2 ways in universe your character can come back. Do you want me to pick one, or do you want to pick one? And they let me work with it. We also lost Angus down there. He technically passed away, or Angus technically died in the dungeon. But unfortunately, our player, Dirk, also passed away out of game, which was a really, really big bummer, and I will miss him. And it's been a couple months, but that was definitely a tough thing to deal with as a GM, having a player die and a friend die. That sucked. It's tough to. I'm not going to talk about it too much here, but either way, we had to do some restructuring a bit. Respectful restructuring a bit. So Angus is okay. He's gone off to protect the circus. So he's hanging out. He's chilling. But when it comes to Sigrid and her player death, I felt like this was a good opportunity to introduce the rival party, which was something. It's kind of your brainchild that you've kind of come up with.
Yeah, the rival party is from the first edition book. It might actually be called Rival Parties, I think.
I think it is.
And there's a Whispering Way party in there, and I've used them to be kind of connective tissue for later books.
Mm-hmm.
And we've kind of ported them over into this book to be useful, to be antagonists, and to show active use of the Whispering Way that GM Muffin can use.
And I think all of them got used to some degree in this book. Maybe not like outwardly that the players saw, but the baddies definitely used them. The first one being Myrella, who was Sigurd's mentor. She was like the main secondary antagonist in this book. She was casting charm spells on court goers, just being a general nuisance. She's also spying for Allison, which I think turned out pretty good. And now she's a villain, and Sigrid knows it, and Sigrid doesn't hate her. She's just more so confused and would like to talk with her. So hopefully that'll happen at some point. Then we had Nutatia, who was the ghoul cleric of Urgathoa. She is the one who actually ended up resurrecting Sigrid. She got contacted by Endymion to be like, hey, I think this person is very entertaining. I think it'd be a shame if they just died in such a lame-ass way. I'm not done having fun with them yet. You're gonna resurrect them just because I want to keep toying with them. So she did. So Sigurd was resurrected by Cleric of Urgathoa, which is super tough. Probably does not feel good to get resurrected like that. And then we also had Vesnik, who was the vampire. He didn't get as much time to shine in this book, but he did have a few conversations with Sigrid. I changed your original document to have Vesnik be a fallen paladin of Desna. So he has a large, like, butterfly tattoo on his shoulder. I thought that was more interesting, giving him some kind of faith and kind of show that he is currently being mind-controlled or controlled by Myrella, to kind of give them a interesting dichotomy to them. And I think he's pretty cool. Thought it came across super well. If they end up fighting him, I don't know if they will spare him, because he is a vampire after all. But I quite liked him. He was pretty cool. Excited to see more of him.
Got a pet wolf.
He does. We didn't meet the wolf yet. I didn't have an excuse to have the wolf show up. So hopefully the wolf be around soon. The last one was Ardrif, the Invisible Man. I think he had like the most prominent role of the rival party. besides Myrella. He was the one pretty much following the party wherever they went. So occasionally, they'd see something out the corner of their eye, or I think Sigrid saw him at one point watching them at the Chemic Works, but she died before she could tell anyone, which I thought was pretty funny. Um, so he was around. He was doing some spying. They saw him with Allison a few times as well, so they knew that Allison was bad news because this guy was bad news. But overall, I think the rival party was super cool. I think it added like a level to the adventure of like, hey, there's more story to be had later down the line with these rival parties.
Gives you some knobs to like turn and twist too.
Mm-hmm.
That is not really. Otherwise, it's very linear in the city.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, speaking of the city, I originally had plans to make some random encounters in the city. Not like combat encounters, but like RP encounters to like help world build and flesh out the city a little bit more. I ended up not doing this, unfortunately. We were a little pressed for time for a few different reasons. So it kind of, as much as I really, really wanted to, we just weren't going to be able to pull it off with the time limit I was given. It was unfortunate for sure. But I think if you are going to run this, I would have some encounters in the city, like just running into some of the citizenry of Lepidstadt, seeing the different kinds of people regarding the attitudes of the beast. Like, there's a whole like carnival fair going on around the Burning Man outside the courthouse. Like, having more interactions over there, I think would have been really fun. And more interaction with shopkeeps. I'm not a big shopping person as a player or GM. I'm very anti shopping session. So I definitely missed out on opportunities to have some shopkeep show up. We did have one that was pretty connected to the party, which was Tomas. He is a very old, very old elf. He was their primary like alchemical shopkeep, so he was around, and they ran into him a few different times, and he was pretty helpful. Having just NPCs around to flesh out the city, I think, is a good idea.
Yep. There's some inspiration you can take from rival academies with
Mm-hmm.
some professor and students in that book that you could always include in here.
Oh yeah, there's that whole school is a whole gold mine of like side quests. If you really want to flesh out the city, I think having the academy be more involved would be a really good step for that. Especially if the players are like more magically inclined or more alchemically inclined, they could easily get involved in school without a problem. Which I wish I did more with, but what are you gonna do with time limits? Um, we had the Palatine Order more present in this book as well. Being in the city itself, they were around. Um, Primarily being Embrith and Tomas were the big prominent members in there. Uh, I think this book is what marks them starting to be welcomed into the order and start to become official members of it. They don't get awarded that title until the end, but they're still. This is like I think this is the point where the Palatine Order becomes like in the front crux of everything. Of they're going to be giving you missions for real now. You're the only ones who can really help with this Whispering Way. Get some buy-in for the players with that. But yeah, they've got some pretty cool stuff going on. You made some pretty cool Palatine Order related feats for this book.
I'm glad that worked out.
Yeah. They haven't used any of them yet, but they're still pretty cool. We dug deep into the 1E source books. It was Occult Mysteries. When I was reading through them, we saw like there was a section regarding some phrases that the order uses to invoke some kind of magic. So what we ended up doing is we made feats based on those phrases, and the party could take one of those feats, and they would be able to invoke some of the magic of the Gospels of Tabriz to give them a slight diplomatic edge or recall knowledging edge on things. They're kind of cute. There's nothing crazy about them, but they're just kind of cute to have as a nice little reward.
And since the trial was kind of like their test run of getting in, how exactly did all the locations work for you? Did they all work, or some
Uh,
you ended up not liking very much as part of the investigation? There was you have in the city, you have Hertzstad, which had like the uh,
the ghost kids.
ghost kids. You had Morris, which was like the swamp
Swamps.
town.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then I guess nearby from there was the boneyard where they bury their dead.
Mm-hmm.
And I think lastly was
Sanctuary.
Sanctuary, which was a burnt down like hospital center.
Yeah, so I guess kind of going down the list for starting with Herstag. I really liked Herstag. It was such a goofy, goofy place. Um, the entire city is just coated in traps, which was kind of a funny callback to the first book where they ran into the trap house with Gibbs, which they dealt with, and then they had to run into this town that is just covered in traps, just head to toe in traps. I think the book has like, oh gosh, it's something silly like 90 bear traps scattered around this town. It's so silly. But I liked Herstag a lot. I felt like the kids were simple enough uh, that they had their emotional impact, and then you got the resolution of killing Brother Swarm, who has some pretty cool art as well to boot, which is pretty cool. No one got turned into a wraith, so that's good.
That's good.
Yep, that's good. Uh, but yeah, the kids were good. Brother Swarm was good. There's a very brief encounter outside of Herstag with three elderly ladies who live in a windmill and bake pies. And I just thought that was hilarious for those who have played any kind of Curse of Strahd stuff. Uh, this adventure path came out before Curse of Strahd, so I mean, I think they should sue for copyright. But either way, but either way, next one being Morast. Uh, oh, I didn't like Morast. Um,
No. Oh.
no, it was kind of like I just felt like trying to interact with the NPCs out there was kind of tough. Because a lot of the NPCs are very set in their ways. And it's difficult for them. I guess it's difficult for me as a GM when the players show you legitimate factual proof that is undisputed. It's like, oh, I guess I can change my mind now because it's tough to justify it. Of course,
Yeah.
the main hunter was still kind of wary about it, but like when you gather so much evidence, it's tough to like tell them no. It's I
Yeah.
don't
They
know.
kind of they almost suspect it.
Yeah,
You're kind of conditioned to like give rewards like that. You know what I mean?
yeah. It's also this location felt a little convoluted. Um, it felt convoluted because you don't have a lot of information regarding the skin stealer, Warstag. So I'll be telling them things and they'll just be confused, which I know is part of the mystery, but they're gonna be going to trial soon, so like they don't have any evidence necessarily against what happens besides like maybe the bites and everything. But I don't know. I think this was awkwardly positioned. I think I would have liked it a little better if it flowed into Vorstag a little cleaner, which I definitely tried to do. I don't think it was very successful, unfortunately. Uh, but I don't know. I just felt like such an awkward. I don't know. I didn't like it as much as Herstag or the other ones. I wasn't a fan. I don't know.
Morass is kind of like a part one where
Yeah.
like you're setting like the seeds of stuff where they only get half the answers, and then it's like the next day or the day after is where like the second half of the answers come, and you're like supposed to put them together to get you to the end.
I know there's
Um,
supposed to be this through line between Morast and Sanctuary regarding Vorstag. I don't know. I think I would have been kind of annoyed at it as a player as well. I know you're not really expecting to get answers for everything right away, but when you're trying to do a trial to get evidence, I don't know. I could see it being a little bit frustrating of not really being able to solve the mystery. Um, I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of morass. I think they could have done that a little cleaner or made the clues pointing towards Vorstag a little more obvious. Um,
Okay.
but I like the like aesthetic of the location of like being in a swamp, which was pretty fun. But the actual like mystery that happened there, I don't know. It wasn't. I don't think it was the most compelling, which is tough for being the first one. Because yeah. The third place Sanctuary. I didn't do Sanctuary. Um, we skipped it. We were supposed to, but I got the vibes of the trial that they weren't enjoying it anymore, and doing a third one would probably just be kind of a pain in the ass to do.
Yeah. Plus, your party had already went to the Chemworks and already found that lead,
Yeah, so at
so
that point, it's
Sanctuary
like,
would have
yeah.
kind of
It's
be
like,
redundant.
also, there's like nothing there. I think if it was like something there, I would have been more inclined to do it, but I think there's just like ghouls that hang around. Maybe not even ghouls, some kind of blue
Yeah, it's like
creatures.
yeah, some ghouls that have like moved in.
It's a ghast. Um, cool art though, but yeah, I would expect more from a burnt down mental hospital. We'll just say that. But it just being a ruin with a bunch of gas hanging out, eh, I don't know. It's there's nothing there, you know. So it's like whatever. I don't regret skipping it. We instead did the circus, which I think went way better. I think it was my favorite out of the investigations. Even though we made it, but I thought it was the best one. I think it had a clear setup, follow through, and conclusion. Very clean. Regarding the missing clown, investigating around the circus to find the ghost muse, who basically tells them like, "Hey, I'm a ghost, but I'm chill. I'll rat my buddy out, the bugaboo, who's been killing people." And they did research into the bugaboo, found out he's weak to silver. They bought a bunch of silver and they jumped him, and I thought that was fantastic. It was I was happy with it. I know it probably wasn't like the most relevant to the trial, but the players had fun, and I think that is what matters the most. Very clean.
Yep, that's all that matters.
Yep. Very clean. That's fine. I'd much rather have done that than gone to Sanctuary for sure. And no regrets.
And then I guess after that, they went to the Chemworks, where we've already mentioned we had some deaths, but outside of the deaths, how did that little dungeon work?
I really like Chemic Works. I definitely wish they were more involved with the planks over the vats of acid and bleach. Just because like it's kind of there for you to try to shove one of the guys into it, right? So I thought that would have been fun, but they didn't really interact with that much. I think Vorstag is a really cool creature. Skin stealer, very cool. A lot of paranoia with that guy. I think he's super cool. Um, Regarding the mongrel folk that were there, I think that worked out pretty good too. They didn't end up fighting the mongrel folk. They fought them briefly. They killed a few of them, but basically discovered pretty quickly that they are CR1 creatures and are scared of out of their minds and are slaves. At that point, they meet the best NPC, Jeff, becomes part of their B team after this. And I think overall they like the mongrel folk, especially our investigator player Zurich, who made it his goal to give them equal rights and free them and bring them to the surface, which I thought was pretty cool. I didn't get to explore much of the rest of the Chemic Works, like the tower and the second or third floor, where up there, because they went down to the basement to chase Vorstag like immediately. And I was intending for Vorstag to leave out of the secret door that was down there. But unfortunately, he didn't have enough action economy, so they beat him there and cut him off. And they did not realize they cut him off from the secret door, so he had to kind of pivot to go to the evil pool down below, where all the death happened. I think the stat blocks she made were really good. They had some fun potions and items on them for sure. and I think overall I really liked it. They had a fun little bounce back between each other with Warstag's brother Grine. Grine has a lot of spells, being a cleric. So that was pretty fun to like have some spells and some alchemy going off at the same time, and the whole time dealing with Vorstag's shape changing ability. But my favorite bit about the resolution of the Chemic Works was that Vorstag lived. He did not die in the Chemic Works, which let me kind of have some really cool moments of paranoia with the party, which was really really fun. There's a scene I think about to this day where they all head back to Endyvion's estate where they're staying, and when they get there, Endyvion's not home. Sigrid is dead. Angus is dead. It's just the three of them and Kendra. So they are chatting. They're wondering what they should do. And as they're chatting, Endyvion walks in.
And almost is it on cue?
Yes,
that was Eric. You can go first.
I was gonna come over here and close the door, but it sounds like somebody's about to walk through the door. So
yes. So as you go to close the door, a hand actually stops you from closing it. As Endyvion peeks around the corner. Oh, good evening. Are you all right?
Wait! What did I say to you the day that you made breakfast? What did I think about your breakfast that you made for us?
Endyvion kind of looks to all of you. He's a little confused, and you kind of see him. He kind of puts a hand on the sword at his side as he takes kind of a step back. Is this an interrogation? Should I be concerned?
And they now know at this point, the skin stealer can take the skin and turn into anyone that they've killed. And there was a really tense moment between the party and Vion of, are they about to fight because they think Vion is a skin stealer? And I really enjoyed it because in Vion's mind, he was afraid or nervous that they were going to attack him because they found him out for something. He had no clue about the skin stealer at that moment. So he had so many thoughts going through his brains of like, dang, where did I fuck up? They find out already. So he's ready to fight just for an unrelated reason. And the party is ready to fight him for a reason that Endyvion doesn't know about. I thought that was fun. It was pretty tense. I knew it wasn't going to devolve into fighting, but I got pretty close. I won't lie. I was a little nervous, but I was like, ooh, boy. Just because I think I'll make the reveal with Endyvion being the bad guy just so much more like ironic, you know.
They could have fought him so much earlier.
Yeah. He could have revealed himself so much earlier in the adventure. If things had gone badly, which I think is, I don't know. I thought it was cool. I got what I wanted out of that scene for sure. And then Vorstag comes back for real, during the fight in the courthouse, as one of the guards. So we kind of have a 3-way, 4-way fight at the courthouse between the party, the Whispering Way, the mob, Vorstag, and then the Beast who joins in later. It was a clusterfuck over there in Vorstag. I feel like, I think it was a good conclusion to Vorstag. It's a really cool monster. I'm sad it never got transferred to 2nd edition, but I guess a lot of Fae can just do what it does. But this one does it like a freak. It takes their skin, so I think that's cooler.
We've talked about it a little bit already, the trial, but when you ran that first day, was it just all RP and they didn't know anything in the background, or were you RP but they know what their skill checks are going to be and what that's influencing? Like, how much of the board game do you let them know?
I let them know a little bit, I think. I remember telling them that diplomacy would always be viable as a skill check. But if their arguments could involve another skill, I would let them use that skill check instead. Like, I think, for example, Amelia used crafting a few times, like for the potion for dark vision. She used that. I think Zurich also ended up using society a few times. But I think at the end, it was mostly roleplay. I think it was. I don't know. I'm happy with the first day of the trial. I think the first day of the trial went pretty well. The second day was and but I think that was more so maybe I wasn't into it, maybe the players weren't into it, but it wasn't as good as the first trial. They were really into the first trial, and they went all out with the role play. And I think if they go all out with the role play, I'm not necessarily going to punish them for rolling poorly. Like if they put their whole heart and soul into RP, go for it. I'm gonna have you roll secretly, but I'm probably gonna lie to you and just say you succeeded anyway. Because I don't know. If you want to put the effort in, I'm gonna reward it. You know what I mean?
All right. Yeah, makes sense.
So it was like a fake skill check challenge. Does that make sense? It was,
Yeah.
yeah. And they went pretty hard, so they deserve the win for sure.
So they got the beast off of guilty charge, and
Best part.
you got through the mob attack and wrap up loose ends, and then you have the trek over to where the final set piece is, Skolov's.
The Schloss.
Yes, the great manor castle.
Yeah.
Which
what a
then
cool
you said
set
we didn't
piece.
run half of it.
Well, you know, what are you gonna do? Yeah, Slosh is a super cool set piece. The map we had was fantastic, beautiful. Shout out to Dom, who made that map. Super cool set piece. Yes, we didn't run all of it. It was for a couple of reasons, unfortunately. I found myself on multiple time limits. This adventure at multiple points in time. It was pretty stressful. No one's fault. I was doing my best to accommodate, and we were already kind of running over session cap anyway. But unfortunately, one of our players, Zurich, he had a time limit of like, hey, I need to leave by this date. Like he apologized. He had stuff going on. Totally not his fault. But I wanted him to at least be there for the conclusion. So this really cool dungeon with so many floors and so many cool encounters got cut down by like a lot. I don't necessarily know if I
You got the main
regret
ones.
doing it. Yeah, I got the main stuff. So, like, I don't know if I regret doing it because the way the dungeon is set up is you don't need to explore. You can quite literally just kind of walk to the destination.
Pretty linear.
Yeah, like there's an upstairs and a tower, but like you don't need to go up there, and the book doesn't give you any reason to. So I was like, if they're not gonna go up there, I'm not gonna force them up there. So whatever. So we ended up having just a few encounters in there. We had the roleplay encounter with the goblins. Then we had I don't think we had any in the actual like house part, did we? No, I don't think so. No, they just kind of ransacked the place. We had a mimic encounter in the museum. God, that museum is so cool. What a cool set piece this old entire Schloss was. We had an encounter with the dogs. Who almost pushed some people off the edge of the waterfall. Gosh, I was so nervous about that.
On the bridge.
On the bridge, yeah. I was so nervous about that. Because if someone does fall, it's like over. Like it's there's no way that you're coming back.
It's a long
that.
fall, yeah.
Yeah, it's like
50, 75 feet, something like that.
And you're in a time crunch. It's like that piece is gone, man. I should have installed railings. Thankfully, no one fell. So that was spun off my back. Aquarium was cool. The aquarium bit was really funny because there's two encounters. There's the basilisk encounter on the left side or right side, I believe. And then there's an encounter with a vampire or a vampire spawn. And they went in, they peeked in, they saw both encounters. They went, okay, there's a basilisk on this side, and there's a vampire spawn. They thought it was straight up vampire, by the way. They didn't know it was a spawn. And then there's a vampire on this other side. And they went with the vampire over the basilisk. And I thought that was the funniest shit. Was like,
I've terrified them
yeah,
with poisons and diseases.
I was like, you rather fight the vampire over the basilisk? Okay. And they ended up annihilating it, obviously. But it was so funny. It just really shows you like what kind of party that I was running with. Of like, that's an undead. We gotta kill it. It's over. Might as well go through there. And then they had a really cool encounter on the taller walkway with the beast. This scene was really cool. I don't know if you've watched it, Darbee, but it was pretty awesome. The beast came down to kind of, just for me to show off he's mind controlled in the first place. And he, had the intention to break the bridge and send them all tumbling to the ravine. But before he could, Amelia, the alchemist, she stepped forward and she started reciting the poem.
You hear the beast. You hear
Oh.
Daffodil. He yells. He screams.
Oh.
And then he lands on the stone bridge in front of you all as he
Oh God.
jumps down from the roof of this tower, and he lands with a thud, and the stone beneath him starts to crack a little bit. And he looks up to you all. And I need you all to make a sense motive check for me.
Oh boy.
When the beast lands on the bridge, rain-soaked and, sweating, his monstrous hands grip the stone edges of the bridge, almost like he is in pain. When he looks up to you and he meets your gaze, his eyes have gone a completely milky white compared to the haunting yellow that they were previously. And you know that the gaze and the expression that the beast wears is not one you've ever seen him wear before. And he snarls at you. A real snarl. And you know that the beast is not in control of himself. Someone else is.
Do I have time to say
you close the door?
that?
No, that was me. My bad.
You have time. You can say anything you want to the beast or your party.
Okay, I'll just say something's controlling him. And then I'll yell out to Daffodil.
Don't grab his attention. Don't grab his attention.
Oh, he's already attention.
sees us. He already
When
sees
you open
us.
the door, that's when you turn it down.
Yeah. And I'll just start saying that I wandered lonely as a cloud. And just start that floats on high over vales and hills. When all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils.
And as you
It's
start
like-
speaking, he grabs his head and he yells and he yells and he slams his fist down on the stone bridge, cracking it even further.
And she stepped forward and started like reciting him the poem. And I was like, damn, that is so good. I gotta give her something. So it kind of showed him breaking free of the mind control very, very briefly. Enough to kind of jump away to not fight them. Which I think worked out super well. I was super proud of the players. Thought that was a great pull. Really appreciated that. They're paying attention, which is good. And after that, it's pretty clean. If they ran into Carmack, he went, "Damn, I'm in a cage. Let me out." he's
down on his luck.
Yeah, he's like, "Damn, this kind of sucks." I also dropped some lore about the Carrion crown at this point. Not a lot, but basically what Carmack told them was the Whispering Way put me in this cage because they wanted my help into making this solution called the Carrion crown. Carmack has no idea what it is, but if the Whispering Way wants to make something, he's not gonna do it because it's probably evil as fuck. And that was it. That was like the only name drop for the Carrion crown I gave them. That it is some kind of alchemical solution. Which I thought was pretty cool. A good it'll lead into more later down the line, I feel like.
Mhm.
They went up top to fight Allison. Cool fight. They broke the beast out of his mind control, murdered Allison, made sure she could not be resurrected as a zombie. They basically disintegrated her, which is fair.
Okay.
And then that's where the book kind of ended after some wrap up. Yeah, I like Schloss a lot. I think Schloss is such a cool set piece. But I feel like Pathfinder2e especially has this dungeon syndrome where it loves to make sprawling dungeons. It just loves them. It just loves them so much. And I think that can be fun, but I also think it get kind of tedious. We saw that in Harrowstone as well, which I liked Harrowstone, don't get me wrong, but it was a pretty massive dungeon and was pretty brutal. And I think
Product of its time.
yes, yeah, definitely product of its time. You don't see dungeons like that anymore in second edition, unless you're playing Abomination Vaults. But Schloss was cool, great set piece. It was fun. Yeah, I love Schloss.
Yeah. So what's your rating for the book?
Ooh, it's tough. Because overall, I did really enjoy the book, but I definitely had some pitfalls with it. I think it really depends on what group you have running through this book. I think as a GM who loves to roleplay and loves to roleplay NPCs, I would give it a solid like 8 out of 10. But I would give it like a 10 to 10 when it comes to uniqueness. I felt like the whole setup was unique, being centered around a trial. Thought that's such a cool idea. Very, very unique. But the actual execution, wasn't 100% there, but it was good. It was good for the most part and had a cool dungeon at the end. Yeah, I think it would definitely probably end up being an 8 out of 10 for me. Did you like it better than Harrowstone?
Yes, I like this book better
Really?
than Harrowstone.
I still like Harrowstone better. I'll be honest.
Town starts
Mhm.
in adventures,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Harrowstone does not take the cake for that category.
I can
While
respect
this
that.
is much more unique, large city to play with.
Mhm. Urban, definitely urban.
Yes, it's an urban.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I liked Harrowstone. I like this book. We're about at the time of recording this 3 sessions into book 3, and that has been much different than the original 2 adventures. It's still been fun though.
Wilderness.
Wilderness, yeah. It's so far the players are convinced that this is the Clue adventure of they're secretly playing the board game Clue, which is not wrong. so
That's funny.
yeah, they are in a Scooby Doo Clue adventure. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Anything else you want to add for book 2?
No, I think we've covered the majority of it.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for watching. Thanks for coming by. Make sure to check out the playlist with all of the Carrion Crown sessions, all recorded for your viewing pleasure. We're in the middle of book 3 right now, and we're probably going to talk about that one as well once we wrap it up. Enjoy your nights.